Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Regular Beer Reviews, where regular doesn't refer to the beers being reviewed, but to the reviewer, myself. I'm Jesse, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing a beer that I've had many times before. As a matter of fact, just about any time I go out, I always have this beer with dessert because they never have any good stouts, any other good stouts. This is one of my favorites, but this is Guinness Draught. Guinness is a good beer, but it's like not one of. There's a lot of stouts that I would prefer over it. But when you go out, like 90% of the bars in this area, I live in North Florida, and like 90% of the bars, you ask for a stout, and this is what they're gonna have is Guinness. So I drink it a lot. I always have it with dessert. So I did a review on the extra stout, but I've never done a review on just the regular Guinness. So this is the Guinness Draught. And let's look at the numbers on this. Now, Guinness is Guinness Limited out of Dublin, Ireland. Beer Advocate gives this beer a 79, which is just okay, and that's with 4,386 ratings. The Bros give it a 65, which is poor, and Rate Beer gives it an 88 overall with a 93 for the style. So usually Rate Beer has lower numbers than the Beer Advocate and Bros, but in this particular instance, Rate Beer has higher numbers. So it has a year-round availability, excuse me, and the style is an Irish dry stout. It has an ABV of 4.2%, so it's a sessionable beer, very with a very low ABV. Let's read a descript here from Rate Beer. It says available in cans, bottles, and kegs with nitrogen and carbon dioxide. Pasteurized. Usually called draft, sometimes called cold or extra cold. Same beer, but served colder. Launched in 1961. The ingredients are pale ale malt, about 25 to 30% flaked barley, and about 10% roasted barley with no other grains or sugars. It says several hop varieties, mainly Goldings, and that's pellets, and what is that, isomerized or extract, and a flocculent head foaming ale yeast. So but yeah, this is a beer. I mean, it's not one of my favorites as far as the stout goes, but it's a drinkable beer, and I do like it, and I have it quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get this poured. For this, I'm going to use my Guinness mug. I bought this like 5 or 6 months back, and I've actually never used it. So it's vintage, so I am excited to use it. Let's get this beer poured. Oh yeah. Now this is the draft bottle. It doesn't have like a widget or anything in it. So, but I mean the head still looks very creamy. As you know, not quite as creamy as like the can with the draft, with the widget in it, or the like if you actually get it draft, you know, from a keg. But it definitely looks a little creamier than like an extra stout or something. So I'm not sure if they yeah, I'm not sure how they do that, but anyway, let's get an appearance on it. This beer is black. I mean, it is completely black. I mean, opaque. You cannot see any light through it whatsoever. The carbonation appears to be very low. It is black, so it's hard to see, but I mean, you don't see any bubbles at all streaming up. The head is a tan, very creamy, tiny little bubbles. I mean, this is a beer where the head usually sticks around, so very tiny bubbles, very black. Let's go ahead and get a nose on this. Yeah, this beer is it's very sweet, roasty malts, coffee, a little bit of chocolate. There's maybe a little bit of coconut or vanilla, some type of just a sweet, you know, really sweet thing in there besides the, it's probably from the malts, which is kind of a sweet, it's not really contributed it's definitely not contributed to the roastiness of the malts, but just the sweetness there. I would say it smells a little more like vanilla or something. Um, Maybe a little bit of smokiness, roasty, a little bit smoky. No hop presence whatsoever. I'm not smelling any floralness or anything that I would contribute to hops in this. Um, it's just roasty, sweet, really sweet, dark malts, coffee and chocolate, a little bit of vanilla, maybe some coconut, um, and a little bit of smokiness. And that's all I'm really picking up on the nose. Now, the extra stout I find has a lot more flavor than the draft in a can or a bottle. But I did a review on that already, so let's go ahead and jump into this one. Yeah, it's definitely doesn't have as much flavor as it does aroma. I smell a lot more going on here than I taste. This is and it doesn't have that thick mouthfeel that you would expect from a stout. It has a very watery mouthfeel. It just tastes mild and just really bland. I mean, I'm tasting some coffee malt, not really any chocolate. I mean, I can definitely pick up on the chocolate in the nose, but I'm not really tasting any chocolate. I'm tasting some coffee. I'm tasting the roastiness. But and it's not even really that sweet on the flavor either. It's kind of sweet at the front, and then it kind of rolls into like a bitterness, like mid to back of the palate, like a bitterness from the roasty malts. There's no hop presence here, which I mean that doesn't really take anything away from it because it is a stout. It's not an IPA or a pale ale or something, but it's bland in flavor. It has a thin mouth feel. It's watery. The aroma is nice, the appearance is nice, but the flavor, that's why I said at the beginning of the video, this really isn't one of my favorite stouts at all, because there are so many stouts that have so much more flavor than Guinness. And the extra stout, if you're gonna drink Guinness, in the bottle or something, it's definitely better when you get it out of the keg, when you get it fresh, on tap. But if you're gonna drink Guinness out of the bottle at home, I'd say get the extra stout. It has a lot more flavor. And it's just mild. I mean, when you're out, it's not a bad dessert beer. You have a scoop of, I'll have like chocolate cake or something with a scoop of ice cream on it. I mean, this goes great alongside it. But by itself, it's not really an amazing beer to drink. I mean, it's St. Patty's Day or something. Yeah, sure, I'll have a few Guinness, but or a few Guinnesses, but it's not anything like amazing that I would like seek out to really want to have a lot. It's bland. It's kind of flavorless. It's certainly sessionable. It's certainly drinkable. I mean, there's nothing offensive about the taste. It's just mild, and I mean, you're getting, I would say, I mean, about a quarter of what you're smelling in the flavor. I mean, because you're not getting really any of the chocolate in the flavor, and I'm definitely smelling chocolate. You're just getting kind of like a mild. What Guinness reminds me of, especially in these the draft bottles and cans, what it reminds me of the flavor is like a cold cup of coffee. Like if you have a cup of coffee, black coffee, and you leave it sitting there, and then you take a sip of it, just cold. There's really nothing else there. It's not sweet on the flavor. It's not really. There's a little bit of sweetness at the front, but it's not really sweet. I mean, it's kind of roasty from the coffee, but there's not really any chocolate. There's not really anything. There's not really any fruitiness. There's absolutely no hop presence. It has a thin, watery mouthfeel. I mean, there's nothing really impressive about this beer. So I'd say it's a little better than average for like most beers compared to like a macro lager or something. But for a stout, I would say this beer is average. So that's I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, which is actually, that's a D. That's a little below average on my scale. It'd be like getting a 60 on a test or something. 6 out of 10. It's not failing, but it's not like super impressive. Again, I drink this beer all the time when I'm out because it's the only stout I can get when I'm having dessert. But if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't drink this beer at all because I mean, it's not like crazy impressive. It's not a horrible beer by any means, but it's really not. It's not, you know, anything to write home about. I would say go with the extra stout over this. But anyway, so Guinness Draught, I'm giving a 6 out of 10. That's a D. I would say if you want to buy Guinness, pick up the extra stout, or just go out and drink it. It is better. It is definitely better on tap. It's still not amazing on tap, but it's better than in the bottle. I would probably give, like, on tap, I'd probably give that a 7 out of 10. But this is just, it's bland and it's even more flavorless. So, and a very watery mouthfeel. For a stout, that's not anything super impressive. So anyway, 6 out of 10 for Guinness Draught in the bottle. Thank you for watching, and keep watching again in the future for more reviews. Prost.